I'm speaking with Bob Borson, founder of the very successful blog and now podcast Life of an Architect, and partner at Malone Maxwell Borson Architects based in Dallas. Hi, Bob.
Hey, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm great.
So, the first question is, what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
My first recollections. Okay. Well, other than the time when my dad gave me a drawing board and a triangle and a T-square for Christmas and having to explain what those things were to me, I'm going to say the first real experience had to do with there was a house in my neighborhood that was under construction, and when everybody would leave at the end of the day, I would go onto the job site and I would walk around. And actually, what I was looking for was cool stuff that I could steal, like nails and just cool pieces of wood, whatever looked like trash that those guys had left behind that I thought I could take without anybody noticing. That's what I did. So that was kind of my first experience of it. But I don't know if that counts so much as architecture as it does a job site. But it kind of planted the seed that I liked being in that environment. So I'm going to say that that counts as my first experience.
Yeah. My kids do the same exact thing when they go to the job sites, and I'm always like, what is that? What did you pick up?
You know what my favorite thing was the nails that go in a nail gun. So there'd be 20 nails kind of all glued together like little soldiers. Those were my favorite. I thought if I found some of those, I had won the lottery, even though I couldn't do anything with them. I mean, I kind of held on to them for a while, and eventually they went in the trash, but I loved them.
Okay, so what are three classic buildings that you like and why? And like I've said to the other people, I say three because architects never seem to be able to limit it to just one.
Right. Well, I'll give you two. All right. Here's the two that I have. And they're both by Lou Kahn. So since I'm in Dallas and Fort Worth is Dallas adjacent, meaning it's geographically convenient, the first world-renowned, really spectacular piece of architecture that I ever kind of walked into, as opposed to the house being built down the street, was the Kimball Museum in Fort Worth. And I thought it was amazing. And what I liked most about it was you can experience that building without knowing anything about the art that it houses, which is also, it's a pretty amazing collection. But just being in the space and knowing it's concrete and looking at how the light comes into the space. And I don't mean architecture nerd, look how the light comes in. I mean, it's a well-illuminated space, and you can see where the skylights are. You can't actually see the skylights, but you can see how the wall is raked with light from above, and you can touch the concrete. And I mean, it's an amazing space. I mean, you can walk through it and not know anything about architecture, not know anything about art, and just feel like this is what happens when things are done right. Right.
Yeah. So it's still, it can be experienced by everybody.
That's right. You can be 5 years old and think it's a cool place. In fact, I bet 5-year-olds do think it's a cool place.
Yeah, probably.
The other building, the other Lou Kahn was actually out in your neck of the woods in San Diego, and that was the Salk Institute, which I only saw a year ago, less than a year ago, for the first time. I'd seen pictures of it my entire adult life. There's not an architect on the planet that's not familiar with that project. And as much as I always kind of liked it and thought, yeah, it's nice, I like it, whatever. And I don't mean whatever in a reductive quality. I just mean there's lots of buildings I like that I've never seen. So there's this layer of information that's missing. And so when I actually went to see the Salk Institute for the first time, I couldn't speak to how well it works, right? Because you're not allowed in the buildings. But just walking through the space and seeing the scale and seeing how it's positioned on the site and understanding the moves and the gestures that Kahn made when he was putting that building in that, I don't know if compound's the right word for it, but it's a cluster of buildings. To see how all that worked and how the people used the space and how the light moved and how you vertically moved both horizontally. I mean, it really was a spectacular building and something I was completely unprepared for, since I felt like I kind of knew it, but seeing it in person, it really changed my perception of not only Lou Kahn as an architect, who I always thought that guy's got some skill, but I mean, that moved up into probably, the number 2 building I've ever seen. And I'm not going to tell you my third, not because it's embarrassing, but because I think that buildings flux, right? Like, I don't have one favorite. It's not because I have 10 favorites. It's because what I like today is different than what I like tomorrow. And it kind of ebbs and flows over time. And so I'm going to leave that third one as a this is what I like now, but that's going to change later.
So you're not going to give me
no,
that.
I'm not. It's up to the list. No. It's up to the listener's imagination.
I think that's one of the reasons why architects don't want to design their houses a lot of times, or then if they do, it just becomes like kind of this work in progress where it's never really finished, or they're adding on to it, or it's like, oh no, I don't want to do this because it's somewhere like stuck in time or something, some trend that you don't want to see in the future, and that's always going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it could be me just not doing it.
No,
I don't know.
I think that's true. That's absolutely correct. It's like freezing a moment in time, even though our predilections and our interests and our thoughts on how spaces work and should be used constantly is changing. I think it's absolutely true that that's one of the big struggles any architect has when designing something for themselves.
Yeah. So what do you like about being an architect?
What I like most about it is that it's constantly evolving and changing. The nature of the work that we do, which, 10 years ago, I was doing almost entirely residential work. Now I'm doing more commercial work than I am residential, but I still get to do, there's always seems to be some mix of both. And so I rarely get bored. I don't have to sit at my desk all day long. I don't have to sit out in the hot sun all day long. I don't have to work on just commercial. I don't have to work on just residential. It is so open to whatever interpretation I want to make it. I think that when, people send me emails and they'll say, this is what I want to be an architect, but I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that, or what should I do to prepare myself for being an architect? And I always tell them, you just need to get used to looking at everything that's around you and trying to form an opinion about why you like something or why you don't, and being able to articulate it. Because the truth is, what you like today is not going to be what you like tomorrow. And what you don't like today, you might love tomorrow. It's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. As I grow as a person, my opinions, my values, my mores, all that changes with me. And so it's not static. And I think a lot of jobs, at least from the outside looking in, they appear far more static than what my profession as an architect appears.
Or you just become more, I don't know, I feel like you've just become more about the details. I mean, you go more about the, you're looking at more details the older that you get, or the more experience that you get in the profession, or where before I would look at the overall piece of architecture. And then, now that I'm older, I think I look at more of the pieces.
Yeah, and it makes sense to me. I get it. It's more of a like younger architects, the interns, the young associates we have in the office, when they get an opportunity to design, they kind of go for this big idea. And we try to explain that it's not just the big idea. It's the sum of all these decisions that you make along the way. And that thought process that we try to instill into the younger folks in our office is that everybody's a designer. The person who designs the wall and does the construction drawings, they're making so many decisions that will impact the design that how could they not feel like they're a designer even though they're doing construction drawings? It's a good answer, isn't it?
Yes, excellent answer.
Yes.
What made you apply for fellowship, and what was your topic?
Well, as far as what made me apply was, there was a gentleman that was one of my professors in college. Actually, not that long after I started my blog, he came up to me and said, I want to sponsor you for fellowship. And this guy, at one point, he was the Texas Society of Architects president at the time. He was one of my college professors. He had actually been the chairperson of the National Fellowship Committee. So if you're thinking that there's someone who has a good feel for whether or not you're worthy or, of being recognized with this distinction, it would be this guy. And so he came up and said, I want you to do this. I think it's important, and I want to be your sponsor. And I was like 42 years old at the time. And I felt that I was too young to do it. It seemed disrespectful almost to the people who had already received fellowship or received that recognition, for someone my age to say, all right, now it's my turn. So I waited a bunch of years. And and then when I finally got ready, I went back to him and I said, "Are you still interested?" And he goes, "Absolutely." And so we just started the process at that point. What I went to was service to society, because my application was really based on how I promote the field of architecture to non-architects through my website. I mean, I've done a lot of other stuff. I don't have one peg to hang a hat on, but that's a pretty big one, because at its peak, there was not another single person on the planet connecting with more people talking about architecture than me, and which seems preposterous to me, to be honest with you. But it's hard to deny, since one of the tenets of recognition for fellowship is that you as an individual have done something that elevates the entire profession on a national level. I think that I qualified in that capacity.
Yes, definitely. That's a big shoe to fill.
I know, it's pressure. Don't screw it up, Borson. You're representing the entire profession.
So what would you like to say about the future of architecture?
Well, you had mentioned that this was that a question like this was coming. I don't have now this one I don't have a good answer for. I can say that I feel hopeful for the profession. I think that architects are a fairly fluid group. I think part of who we are is that we're fluid enough to accept and embrace change. And it's not change that is happening around us. I think it's change that we're driving things towards. We're good at looking at 50 variables, putting them in some sort of narrative that helps us define some priorities to them, and then shaping things to help reach a goal that has the most positive impact on the greatest number of people. And I think that skill set prepares us to look at our profession and evaluate it in such a way that says we're in a position to reduce waste and to reduce carbon footprints and to still improve the quality of life for people. But those are questions that don't have answers yet. I mean, our entire country is struggling with how we can resolve some of those items, and we're at the front. So the way I feel about the profession is we're going to be the ones that help make these changes. So there's a certain amount of pride that I feel about being in a group of people that I know is going to be a part of the solution.
Yeah. I mean, we have a big effect on our environment, both the physical and the, natural and, how people feel.
Yeah.
Would you like to say anything else that is, that's on your mind at the moment?
The only thing I have on my mind, so that since you're here with me digitally, you're here with me.
Digitally.
It's Saturday, right? And so my wife's off doing something. My daughter's birthday is coming up on Monday. So my wife is putting together projects. Now it's customary that the birthday person gives gifts to their guests. I go, man, I was born in the wrong time. So yeah, you get to go to a party and you get the gift.
You mean the goodie bag, like kind of the goodie bag at the end.
Yeah, you get a goodie bag.
Yes.
But it's not a goodie bag of crayons and, unsharpened pencils. These are like these cool water bottles that she picked up, and she's doing these stencils, like these stickers. She's making these stickers that will go on. I mean, they're really cool. So she's running around doing that. Yeah. My daughter's, I don't know, she has a musical that she's trying out for, so she's singing on the other side of the house. And I'm sitting in the other room watching the World Cup while I'm editing the next podcast that we're going to release on Monday. Have you listened to it?
We're multitaskers.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the idea that architects work all the time. And I think there's some truth to that, because our hobbies tend to be extensions of what we do for a living. So that's what's happening. That's what I'm doing. That's what's on my mind, is that I have editing to do, because we're talking about sketching, which is a hot topic.
Yes. Yeah. And I was saying that when you asked on Twitter what was in your sketchbook, and I said not enough, because I never find the time. It's not that I don't like to do it. I love to sketch. I love to draw. I've always loved to draw, but I I just, I know a couple of years ago I said, okay, I'm going to do a sketch every single day. And then the next one, it was like for our New Year's resolutions for #Architects. So it's like, okay, then the next year was like, I'm going to try to do a sketch once a week. Like that. And I look at my sketchbook and I've probably done like 5 things in the past 2 years, which is anyway.
Well, you should listen to the podcast because we actually talk about that there's two different, not just two different, but there's two different types of people, architects who sketch. There's those that sketch concepts and ideas, and it's part of their design process. It's a creative release for them. They draw pictures of things, and my partner, Michael, that's what he does. You open his sketchbook, it's got doodles from projects he's working on, but it has, like, I was standing out in a field and there was this barn, and so I drew it. Right. I don't do I don't do drawings like that, but I sketch all day, every day, but it's in the process of doing my job because it's how I process information. It's how I solve problems. So my sketches are very architectural, but they're not sketchbook type sketches. They're trace paper type sketches, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of those, but I never put them in. I mean, sometimes, I know I used to like take, cut certain things out and then just like spray mount them into my sketchbook and stuff like that. But, well, of course I'm going to listen to your podcast. I always listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, this one's good. This is a good one.
Yeah. Oh, they're always, aren't they always good, Bob?
No, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. Okay. I mean, I think you and I had this conversation until I actually started doing podcasts. I didn't listen to any podcasts. I was on more podcasts than I had ever listened to. And I'm feeling like I have to catch up now because now that I've gotten into it, I have a different level of appreciation for it, which is kind of the reason why I'm doing it. Like, learn something new, different creative outlet. And so it's like I found this new thing that everyone else has known about for years. And it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Thank you, Bob. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. And I'm glad you could take the time out of your busy Saturday to do that.
Oh, pleasure's mine. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay. Thanks.